Fools for Thought.
Hello, everybody. Good day. Welcome to the fourth episode of Fools for Thought, the show where we take a look at everyday topics with some humor and just a little bit of sarcasm. Along with Alex, my co-host, I am Steve. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate your ear. Alex, how are you doing today?
I'm doing a little bit glum, to be honest. It's a rather
glum.
gloomy day.
I'm sorry to hear that.
We've lost our sunshine for another couple of weeks. So,
that's too bad.
Much like the Groundhog's Day gopher, I went outside. I didn't see my shadow, so I ran back inside.
Well, allow me to cheer you up, my friend. I have exciting news. The show Fools for Thought is now officially on iTunes. That is a big step in our future. I appreciate all the effort that went into making that happen.
Man, that's fantastic. We're almost becoming a real show.
Almost becoming a real show. That's
almost.
Right. It took us 3 shows, but better late than never.
Better late than never. Exactly. That should be our motto. Better late than never.
I like that. Thank you, Alex.
No problem.
So this show was going to be a little bit more lighthearted than our last one. Our last one we talked about mainly technical topics, but today we're going to talk about lifestyles. There's a couple different ways to live your life in such a way where you maximize your happiness and minimize the things that just downright piss you off. We're going to talk about how to retire and some unique ways to retire that you probably haven't thought of before. And we're going to take a look at some other living options. For example, micro houses, these little tiny houses that people live in that are 250 to 500 square feet in size, and that is it. Just completely maximizing space to the extreme and ditching your 1,500, 2,000 square foot house. Talk about cleaning in an hour rather than an entire day. That's certainly what appeals to me. And last but not least, we will go over 8 life lessons that I personally will never forget. These are lessons I've learned throughout life, and I think people can take something from. And in the middle, we will get a little bit more lighthearted and talk about some news segments and funny stories and some downright weird things going on in this country. Our first topic for today, lifestyles and how to retire. Lifestyles of the smart, silly, and downright ridiculous. There was a story from CBS News last month that chronicled a woman's unique way of retiring. There's a woman, her name is Lee Washstetter. I completely butchered her last name, I know. But after years of working, she's 86 years old now. She's a widow. She pays $164,000 a year, every year, to live on a cruise ship permanently. 100% of the time, this is her home. Her cruise ship is her home. This cruise ship is a Crystal Serenity cruise ship. The crew now is basically like family now. But she really stays active. She regularly in ballroom dances and attends cocktail parties and movies and lectures and other activities. Really, I'm sure this woman hasn't cooked a meal for herself in years. So, I mean, I'm a fairly frugal person in nature. I mean, how could somebody blow through $164,000 to live on a cruise ship all year long? I mean, how financially irresponsible does somebody have to be to actually do that?
Well, if you're 86 and planning on dying soon, I mean...
Well, yeah, I suppose so.
I mean, I'm calculating it, and it's $450 a day she's spending.
Yeah, that's not pretty.
What type of cruise line is this? Is this like one of the really fancy ones?
I'm sure this is pretty average, I think, for a cruise liner.
Whew.
But the more I thought about this, the more I realized that she's actually onto something. She's not some mid-30s professional working her way towards retirement, shamelessly driving around like an $80,000 car, or lamenting the fact that retirement just seems to be way too far off. I mean, she's already there. This woman is 86 years old and long retired. Now, I don't know the specifics of her investments, of course, but this is why we work so long. This is why we build up a retirement, to be able to enjoy our retirement this way or any way that suits our fancy. I mean, as she describes it, she's living completely stress-free, a fairy tale life. And this is really what retirement is all about. I mean, gosh darn it, good for her. I mean, she's using her retirement for what it should be used for, to enjoy the remainder of her life. Is it unconventional? Sure. But hell, who likes convention anyway? Instead of instinctually reacting in such a way where you might question this person's $164,000 a year lifestyle, quite honestly, I respect it tremendously. I mean, my wife and I we probably won't retire to a cruise liner, but we have plans for retirement later that involve moving to another part of the state that is fairly unique. It's Red Rock Country. It's Sedona in northern Arizona. So certainly not like a cruise liner, but I know many people who buy a houseboat, retire there. They might buy an RV and travel the country for a living. This woman just chose to retire on a cruise ship, and I think that's pretty kick-ass, if you ask me.
Yeah, and it's not
what do you
that
think, Alex?
unique. It's not that unique if you think about it. I mean, it's unique in the concept that it's a cruise ship, but a lot of people go to like retirement communities when they get older, and they don't own the property that they live on; they rent it, and they're expensive too. They cost maybe not $164,000 a year, but I can imagine some of the really upper estate ones do. I mean, if she obviously has this much money to spend, she did well for herself in her life, and now she should actually enjoy it. One of the fears that I have of when you grow old is, when you're young, you have a lot of energy. And you're looking forward to the future and you're doing things. But when you're older, I can imagine that your body's kind of breaking down, you're kind of getting slower, and so even maintaining the status quo at that stage has to be a lot harder. Working has to suck a lot more at that
I'm
stage
sure
than
it
it
is.
does here. So I would think that you need even more enjoyment to get the same level of satisfaction that you would in your 30s or 40s at your when you're 80. So really, she's actually getting the most value for her money right now because her last years are the best years, essentially, and those even out to the rest of her life. I think she's doing something really smart, and I think a lot of people who do retire where they want to and live like that, they are making the most of that. Even if they pay more, who cares?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This concept of having a bunch of money in the bank is pointless. Money is pointless. I don't think people quite realize that. It doesn't bring you anything.
Yeah, you certainly can't take any with you after you die.
No, it's gone, and why not spend it with those who you love? And if you're fortunate enough to have somebody, unfortunately she's not, but if you were fortunate to have somebody that you can retire with, a spouse, a partner, whatever you want to call it, I think that's the best thing you can do with your money, especially if you two worked so hard to earn it your entire life. Enjoy it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can take a page out of this woman's retirement book. I mean, she's really learning how to squeeze the maximum enjoyment out of her retirement. Sure, it's not cheap. But hey, I mean, people choose to spend their money however they like, and she's already earned it, and she might as well enjoy it now.
So going to the other side of this is now you have people that are choosing to retire into less extravagant circumstances. So they can use that money for other things rather than like a big house. Or it used to be tradition. People used to just buy a big house, like an estate, And
Sure,
you live
sure.
in that estate, and then you pay for somebody to clean it when you're older because you're too, it's difficult to clean. So now we're having these people move into these micro houses, which is kind of the exact opposite of the cruise ship. But in reality, is it really the opposite?
It's certainly just as unique, but one is far cheaper than the other. But I would say one might be far less exciting than the other as well.
True, but if you buy that house with the intent that you're not going to be there very long because you travel a lot.
Sure. And really everything just comes down to happiness. If you are happy in a 250 square foot house, more power to you. If you're happy on a 10,000 square foot cruise ship, I'm sure it's actually much bigger than that. More power to you as well. It really all comes down to what makes you happy, and do that as long as you can.
And I think that's a good motto too. If you want to build for these type of retirements, you have to focus on the long-term goal. How much money are you going to have at the end of the day, and
Sure.
are you going to
Yep.
kill yourself to get there? Are you going to worry about every cent that you're making and miss out on the opportunities to make real money or to save real money? Most people will typically just go insane at the store between a few cents on something, but they'll go and they'll buy something at a fast food place for $15, or they'll worry their brains out about buying, let's say, an electronic or a flat screen TV, but then go buy a BMW or something that they absolutely don't need.
Oh yeah,
These
I couldn't
these
agree
are what
more.
I think that really cheat you of a good retirement, like this woman's having. It's these methods.
Yeah, speaking of saving money, can you see yourself living in a tiny house, whether now or after retirement?
Now, no, but that's mostly a function of my job and having to have an office and stuff like that attached. Also, I just enjoy having a nice house, and I think that comes with being younger. I take pride in taking care of it and keeping it up, even though it does take time for my life. I have the energy to do it.
Yep, sure.
But I can imagine getting older and not wanting to do that. I can imagine getting older and either 50, 60, 70, and wanting to travel and wanting to do other things and not wanting to be hooked down to essentially either a mortgage payment, which I hope I never have by that age, or two, spending every day of my life cleaning up when no one's enjoying the house, no one's coming over. You're just not as active in your lifestyle.
Yeah, for me living in Arizona, I mean, we like to be outside more than being in. So I mean, for us, for my wife and I, a tiny house is actually pretty encouraging. It's an idea that we may actually look into when we move up to Sedona. But I admit that it's certainly not for everybody. Usually in tiny homes, your bed is built kind of up on a loft, so you're climbing up some stairs, nearly vertical stairs, and you are just maximizing every square inch of space in there. Usually the bathroom, where you have your toilet and shower, is right there by the kitchen as well. So time your cooking escapades as well as your bathroom using escapades very, very well, so you don't so you don't go overboard there. These are built primarily for those who like to travel, because many of them are built on top of a trailer, and they act almost like RVs. So you hook the trailer back up to the back of your pickup truck, and you can literally take your house wherever you need it to go. And that's a really unique yet convenient way to live.
So whether you're intending on retiring to a cruise ship, a microhome, just a smaller home, a vacation place, a retirement community, or an RV, there are definite ways to get there. And the most important thing I think that we want to say is that enjoy it. Enjoy your retirement. Save so that you can live well, and live well throughout your entire life.
Live it up and be happy. Absolutely.
Exactly. So, Steve, what do we have in the news today that's a little bit different, taking us away from thinking about the future? Let's focus on the present.
Well, a couple stories caught my eye. This one's a little strange. It comes out of the Huffington Post, in fact. Apparently, a group of teenagers, stole someone's goat, so a goat from a farm, for a very specific reason. It has nothing to do with tipping the goat over or having fun with the goat or whatever. These three teenagers stole this goat so one of them could take that goat up to his girlfriend and ask, "Would you goat with me to the prom?"
For a pun.
Yes, for a pun. Not go out, but goat. Would you goat with me to the prom? That was their excuse, and now they're being tried as adults for allegedly stealing a goat Saturday night.
That's a long way to go for a joke.
No
You're committing,
kidding.
Robbery for a joke.
Yeah, exactly. Especially a goat.
You could have taken a picture.
Granted, that's the only way that pun worked, but come on, still.
You could have made a fake goat or gotten like a piñata, or you had to steal a live goat that wasn't yours.
A stuffed goat, draw a goat, whatever. I mean, I'm sure a drawing of a goat might actually mean more to the. Well, I don't know. Depending on the person, a real live goat that you stole from some farm might actually mean a lot more to this person.
Yeah, you're willing to commit crimes for me. I mean,
you are willing to go to jail for your woman. This is an incredibly sappy romantic love story.
Wow, that's incredible.
Do you have a Facebook account, Alex?
I do. I've had one actually for the longest time, since 2005, when only college students were allowed to have one, but I don't use it ever.
Don't use it, yeah. I have one. I use it a couple times a week. Some people use it a little bit more than others. Some people post a little bit more revealing messages than others. This news story comes out of NBC News. Joey Patterson, 22, of Boise, Idaho, posted on Facebook that he was going to a local softball field. Now, normally this probably wouldn't be much of a problem. However, Joey Patterson, 22, of Boise, Idaho, was wanted. He is a criminal for nationwide extradition. There is a felony arrest warrant out for his arrest. He posted that he was going to be at a local softball field, and it did not take authorities long to pick up Joey Patterson, 22, of Boise, Idaho, at a local softball field. And this, my friend, is Darwinism at its best and perhaps most hilarious.
Wow. Just wow. How dumb do you have to be? Well, Turns out a lot of criminals are dumb. Not only do you have that story, but there's another one that's from ABC News, and the title of this one, and I just love it. Man rolls in dog waste to try avoiding arrest. Plan fails. So it already tells you a lot about it. But
Plan fails.
It's out of Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. And police say a Pennsylvania man dropped to the ground and rolled in dog waste to avoid being arrested for public drunkenness. But he was taken into custody with plastic gloves anyway. Now, you might go, okay, this guy's got to be young and something like that. No, he is a 45-year-old man named Maurice Franklin. And the police found out about him because early Monday night, he was jumping in and out of traffic while he was drunk or high. He was under the influence.
Wonderful. Yeah.
They say he slurred his words and first claimed that he was just walking around to avoid stepping in dog feces on the sidewalk. But when officers tried to arrest him, police say he laid down the waste and told authorities they couldn't arrest him because he was covered in feces. Of course, Franklin couldn't be immediately reached for comments, and the court records don't list a lawyer for him.
So what you're saying is there is not a feces loophole, then?
Apparently not. Stinky or messy, you are going to go to jail.
So if that teenager who stole the goat also rolled in dog feces or cow feces or whatever...
Obviously goat feces.
Obviously the goat feces. That wouldn't have mattered. He would still be arrested and tried as an adult. That's sad. I'm sorry to hear that.
I just want to know, how drunk or high do you have to be to start believing that rolling in crap is a preferable solution to your problem? What did he see that somebody said, hey, you know how to get out of getting arrested? Just roll around in crap. I find this very unbelievable that he would actually do this. But he did.
Oh, how wonderful. How wonderful. Like I said, Darwinism at its best. That guy will be off the streets for a little while.
Now, I have one more story that I think is the best one of this bunch, only because it involves the amount of irony that I think can only be brought about by Comcast. So,
Comcast. We all love Comcast.
Oh, we all love Comcast.
I especially love their customer service, Alex.
And this is the funniest part, is Comcast has recently really been working to try to repair their image. They have a Twitter account called at Comcast Cares, and if you contact them, they will respond to you. I have Comcast, I've contacted them, and they will respond to you. So you might go, okay, so Comcast is known for just being a terrible company, and they're trying their best, right? So it turns out that when you send a message to Comcast Cares, other people are watching it. And what they're doing is they're posing as bogus reps. They're getting your information, and they're calling you, pretending to be from Comcast, while swearing at you and telling you to cut off, they're going to cut off your service and threatening you and all that stuff. Pretending to be Comcast reps, identifying themselves as if they are from Comcast.
Are these just people with too much time on their hands, or is there something in it for them?
It doesn't seem to be that they're extracting any money. It does seem that they are doing it just to impersonate and damage Comcast's reputation. But it is happening often enough that most of the calls are coming from Canada and a few other places. And that's where Comcast doesn't have any call centers, nor any contractual Comcast call centers. So people are getting a hold of people's private information based on, a lot of people do post a lot of public information on the internet. It's very easy to get access to.
Yes, absolutely.
And calling them up just to damage Comcast's bad name as they're trying to repair it. So the irony here is that Comcast is struggling to try to repair their image, but their karma is so bad that other people are acting bad in their place to make them look even worse. So if you get a strange call from Comcast and they're, very unprofessional, or should I say more unprofessional than what you're expecting, you may be just on one of these fake call lists.
Well, I mean, as unprofessional as actual Comcast reps are, I'm sure they are taught not to swear at you. I want to talk about 8 life lessons that I will never forget. I've learned a lot in the last 15 years of my life as a professional. Not only being a professional, but also working with other professionals. Number one, I mean, I've worked with a variety of people with different educational backgrounds, from PhDs just to high school graduates. And in that time, I learned that those with college degrees are not necessarily smarter, wiser, or better prepared to intellectually confront problems than those without these higher education degrees. They do tend to be more confident in their ability to think, and I certainly admire confidence. I mean, look at me. I am incredibly arrogant. But many times, problems need more than just sheer confidence to solve. Problem solving takes rational thought through a solid foundation in reality, and experience is often the best way to compile the necessary understanding to confront these complex problems. Experience, not necessarily education. Number 2, those who insist on preferencing their job title with senior, for example, senior software developer or senior product buyer, are quite often less productive and less capable than those below them. I mean, too often the true definition of senior means nothing more than just someone who managed to keep a job in their industry for a long period of time and narcissistically insist on the inclusion of senior in their job title. Now, I'm certainly not talking about everybody who happens to have senior in their job title. I'm talking specifically about those that if you go to the length of accidentally omitting senior from their job title, they will insist on the inclusion of that term. It's something that I've noticed throughout all the companies that I've worked with, and it's certainly sad to see as well. Next, number 3, never confuse a type A personality with automatic intellect. So type A personalities are confident in their ability to make decisions, and like I said before, I admire confidence. But their opinions come across as gospel, and those around them may interpret those opinions as such. And certainly, all rational opinions should be taken seriously, but I have found that type A personalities really are no more or less credible than others. And number 4, it's always easier to critique the work of others than to create the work ourselves. So remember writing term papers back in high school or college? I mean, unless you're a gifted writer, coming up with a well-crafted original piece is not easy. But read a term paper from one of your fellow classmates and their mistakes often just jump right off the page at you. So the same concept for new ideas or proposed solutions is at play here. I mean, try not to be discouraged when your thoughts get struck down by others, because quite often criticizing others is far, far easier than coming up with a sound or original thought. Number 5, contrary to popular myth, we are not all created equal. Some of us are naturally more gifted at athletic abilities or math or public speaking than others. Some of us were born to be an astronaut. Others were meant to be accountants or software developers or vagabonds who travel the world and bum a cot and maybe a leftover sandwich from strangers. Everybody's strengths and weaknesses make us very, very different and unique people, capable of starkly different achievements and driven by a wide variety of motivations. And number 6, unfortunately, few people have a concept of money and how much they should spend on trivial or unnecessary pleasure items. For example, your morning cup of joe keeps people at work years beyond when they could have retired, especially when that cup of joe is not really joe. It's not just coffee. You're going out to Starbucks or some other place and getting a frappuccino or mocha or latte or whatever, and you're paying $4 or $5 a pop for these cups of coffee. Or what about the cell phone plan with unlimited data or cable TV or expensive car or expensive house, those season tickets to your favorite sports teams? I mean, all of these costs add up to a good chunk of change. And ironically, it's these same people who lament the fact that retirement seems to be a goal that just keeps getting further and further into the future. People certainly have the right to spend their hard-earned money however they see fit. I mean, I've wasted money too. I am far from perfect. But understand how lifestyle choices affect retirement, and that's a concept that too few people actually understand. Number 7, nobody is better than you. But then again, you are not better than anybody else either. Drive up next to somebody driving an expensive car, and the driver might look over to you as you're downright inferior. But why? Because they're driving a car that put them further into debt than the one you're driving? Now, some people have a 5-foot vertical leap. Okay, that's great. Others can downhill ski faster than lightning, and good for them. But ask yourself a simple question. Who cares? Have you ever mumbled under your breath, "I wish I can do that"? If so, all you've really done is willingly put yourself down. And in the greater scheme of life, it doesn't matter who downhill skis the fastest, or jumps the highest, or drives the most expensive car, or walks around with the biggest arms. I mean, who cares? Focus on your life and your immediate goals. Never be envious of someone else and their situation, because it really rarely helps to improve yours. And lastly, number 8, I am convinced that people's IQs drop 10 points when they're behind the wheel of a car. I've witnessed very smart people drive as if they were completely out of their minds, like rolling over curbs or speeding up and slowing down in rapid succession, changing lanes suddenly without signaling, generally right in front of somebody else, of course. I mean, these are smart people, but when behind the wheel of a car, they turn into clumsy and unaware drones in control of a 5,000-pound death machine. Really, the larger problem is too few people take their driving privilege seriously, but that's probably a discussion for another day. So, Alex, what do you think of these life lessons, and do you see any wisdom here, or do you have a different thought?
No, I was listening to them, and they are life lessons that you really do listen to when you just don't realize them. A lot of people, especially with the title, the job title thing, I definitely have seen that a lot, where the title means more to them than anything else. I think that plays up into people's desire for status. They want everyone to look at them and think that there's something special, so they spend so much money on a car and they spend so much money on clothes.
Absolutely.
And, they have a title at work and all this stuff. But does it really make them happy, or do they just want to feel smugly superior to someone else? And I'm not so sure as to why people want to do that. I mean, it's good to feel good about your accomplishments. You do want to feel proud when you do something well. That's absolutely a basic need that we have as humans, to do a good job or to have purpose. But I don't understand the people who do that. It just doesn't make any sense, and that's never understood to me. But I encounter it almost every day. It is something that I've seen left and right. And same thing with the buying of like the expensive coffees, or the constantly going out to eat for all meals. It's kind of just one of these things that people do because it's convenient, and because they don't want to think, and they don't want to act, and they don't want to do, and it robs them of their ability to I think they watch TV and they see rich people on TV. When I say rich people, I'm not talking like people that have $1 or $2 or $3 million that are small business owners, barely able to make by till they retire, right? I'm talking about the people who are like Kim Kardashian. They see the lifestyles of like the people who make $30 million a year, right?
The
and they
super
go,
rich, yeah.
I should do that. They always go out to eat. They have 2 or 3 fancy cars. Well, yes, but to them, proportionally, it's like you owning a Toyota Corolla. To them, it's no different. It's just the same. Yeah, they spend $800,000 on their car, and you spend $18,000 on yours. But their salary
all relative. Yep.
is all exactly. And they don't care how people look. I'm sure some of them do. I'm sure, like Kim Kardashian, like I mentioned, does. But I'm sure a lot of them, they're so still stinking rich. They're just going to do whatever makes them happy, and they don't care.
Yeah, they're at that point where it really doesn't matter what they spend, what they spend it on.
Right, and you'll find that they are frugal themselves. You'll find that they don't waste as much money, especially if they didn't just come into it. You see a lot of like stars or football players that come into all this money and then suddenly they waste it all, and you go, oh, look at MC Hammer, he's so dumb. But these people never had money to start with. They just got a bunch of money dumped on them. Look to the people that actually spend their entire life creating wealth, and look at how they do it. Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Carlos Slim, like all these very famous billionaires. They started out from, middle income, upper middle income, you could argue, situations, and they saved their money. But they didn't just waste it. They didn't save it for no purpose. They used that money to make more money. And instead of focusing on, getting going out to eat tonight on dinner, maybe they thought about, how can I reinvest this money into something else? And then they stopped thinking about it. They didn't penny pinch to the extreme. They took risks that were calculated, and they moved on. They lived their life like any normal person. But yet they were smart enough to recognize all the advantages that they had around them. And I think that's a very difficult balance to get,
Yeah, I think it's questioning conventional wisdom is really what we're getting down to here. And really there's a bonus lesson, number 9. I really learned that conventional wisdom is just a pile of shit. I mean, all this so-called wisdom, all it does is hold you back under the assumption that things, I don't know, simply can't be done, or I should do it this way or whatever. But I do have news for you. It can be done, and it is every single day. You were talking about some of those people who rise from nothing to extreme wealth. It happens. It always happens, and it can happen to anybody. But it just takes some focus and determination and staying accountable for the decisions that we all make, and having the confidence to say, yes, we will achieve.
But it's not planned. It's not like top down where somebody sits down and goes, okay, well, if you do this, 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 and this, it's going to be true. And that's why I hate those articles that say the 5 top things that Mark Zuckerberg did to become rich. No.
Yeah, that's all BS.
The 52 things you need to do to be successful. The 8 things that successful people do during the day. Really? You're telling me that if I follow these exact 8 things, that I'm going to be just as successful at them. That their lives are so simple.
That is that conventional wisdom pile of shit that just doesn't work. Yeah, I think what we're saying here is all our decisions have consequences. They're either positive or negative, depending on the decisions we make. but they all have consequences. They're always a result of every single decision we make and every single day of our lives. All right, guys, our website is foolsforthought.com. Let us know your thoughts. Do you have an interesting retirement lifestyle you are anxious to get started after retirement? Or do you have another life lesson that you learned that you think would be interesting to share? Please share. I might read a couple of them on our one of our future podcasts. Thank you all for your ear once again. For Alex, my name is Steve. So long.